Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So today is the 13th lecture of organic waste industries, and it's about urea formaldehyde resin production and application. In the previous lecture we have discussed the basic production and the introduction of urea phenol formaldehyde resins, and today we shall discuss the last part of this production, that is the processing, and later in the application part we shall see that which kind of applications UF resins have found. The basic key concepts that we are going to discuss today, these are the processing, as I told you already, and then the properties. They are very just like a brief account of the properties of urea formaldehyde resins, and then we shall move to the applications of these urea formaldehyde resin, starting from the general applications, then to the adhesives and their related uses, because these urea formaldehyde resins, they are extensively used as adhesives and also as foams. So these two are very highlighted uses of these urea formaldehyde resins, and then we shall move to the other application that make urea formaldehyde resins very significant and very well settled in our society. Before we shall start talking about the processing, or you can say the molding process of these urea formaldehyde resins, that how they are further processed when they are formed, it's better to know about these terminologies. We call it compression molding, injection molding, and transfer molding. So basically these are different modes by which molding can be done. Now the question arises, what is molding itself? When we talk about molding, then basically it's a process of manufacturing by shaping liquid or pliable materials using a rigid frame called a mold or matrix. So you know that when most of the cases when a polymer is formed, it has a fluid like appearance. So it has to because sometimes, most of the time, we use high temperature. So when it cools down or it settles, so we call it as curing, or you can say the settling of this polymer. So in the curing process it becomes hardened. So in that time we can mold, or we can adjust its and control its shape of this polymer matrix. So what we do, that we have some sort of molds, और कह लें कि हमारे पास कुछ सांचे होते हैं. So we adjust them to those shapes, and in this case, like when we talk about the compression molding, so these are basically the basic diagrams of these different modes of molding. So in compression molding we use you can say force or pressure to fix them into a particular shape. Here the word charge is representing the material here, the polymer material here. So in this case the molding is done into these specific you can say containers or molds or matrix. But in the transfer molding, what we do, that when we press down the plunger, so the charge, it spreads into the certain cavities. So these cavities, when the fluid or the polymer matrix, it settles down in these cavities, and that's why we call it as that they are transferred to these particular shapes. And in case of injection molding, the material is injected from a particular nozzle, and then it passes down the pathway and then goes through the gates. We can control the amount of these you can say that polymer matrix, and then they go into the shapes and are divided into specific parts here. So these are different modes of moldings that can be followed in particular the molding process or the processing of a polymer matrix. When we talk about urea formaldehyde resin, so it's possible to follow one or different modes to obtain particular type of that polymer that is desired for a particular application. So it can vary. It is possible we carry out compression molding. It is also possible injection molding, and transfer molding is also done on urea formaldehyde. But according to these processing of these polymers, so their uses and also properties can also change. Now we shall talk about the processing of these polymer matrix. So if you remember, when we discussed the introduction of urea formaldehyde resins, we said that these are powders in appearance. So being powder, it is very easy to handle them. So there is nothing, not very difficulty, where we can also use conventional compression molding, and also transfer molding can be used for them. So these powders, they have you have to remember that they have very limited storage life. I mean, they can decompose easily, so we have to store them in a cool place at low temperature. And also they have because they have limited storage life, so we can't store them for long, so we have to use them within few months of manufacturing. And there are few things when we talk about the molding process. So in molding process, we have to take care of temperature, we have to take care of the pressure, and also the time for which molding is done. So in urea formaldehyde cases, the range of temperature is around 125 to 1 degree Celsius. So we have to be very precise that particular temperature at which this particular polymer is stable enough to be molded. So these low temperature are used with thick sections, and high temperatures for thin sections. So this is the like, you have to remember that low temperatures for thick sections and high temperature for thin section. In today's lecture, you will see that there is a lot of theory involved. So you don't have to worry about like it's better you go through each. That's why I have made these few highlighted, you can say, made some few words bolded, because it will help you to remember the points, and you can easily follow the lecture. So it is more about theory, but it is okay because we have to remember the applications of urea formaldehyde resins and also the molding process. Anyways, we were talking about the temperature. So we already learned that temperature should be we can use high when we talk about low and high temperature. So we have to be within this domain, like 125 is the low and 160 is the high temperature. So these temperature also depend upon the thickness of the mold itself. Secondly, when we talk about the low temperature or high temperature, so we have to think about the time itself too. We can't do molding for too long, and we can't do molding for too short time, because if we carry out molding for too long, then it will be overcured. Overcured is something like overcured means that something can be hardened at very too hardened for its application. So these applications, like, it can be, if we use too high temperature or for too long, then it can be overcured. And also there is a word used here like blistering or bleaching or fishy smell. So blistering is also something we say it to be hardened very much, like this material is too much hardened, then we say our overcured sample is also called going through the blistering process. Just as we discussed that we use temperature with respect to the thin or thick films, or you can say the thin or thick sections. So this similarly, molding pressure also depends upon the amount of the sample, or you can say the charge. So the recommended range is 1 to 4 ton per inch square, that is almost 15 to 60 megapascal. High pressure are used mainly for the deep bra articles, that is they have very thick sections. So normally the molding pressure कह लें या time कह लें or temperature, they all depends upon the thickness of the molding, or the molding temperature is also, it also control the cure time, that how much temperature you are giving, it shall control that how much time it shall take to become hardened or cured. So when we talk about the time, just like we discussed that pressure shall be in the range of 15 to 60 megapascal. Similarly, we talk about the temperature, that 125 to 160 degrees Celsius temperature is used normally. So when we talk about time, so for a typical powder, it requires about 55-second cure time at 45 degrees Celsius. So cure time, it also depends on the temperature. If you use 145 degrees Celsius for a particular sample, it's about 55 seconds, and also it depends on the thickness of the molding. So much shorter times are now employed industrially for such articles as bottle caps, or you can say that it also depends upon their particular application. If you use if you vary the conditions of the processing, then their uses, you can say applications, also vary. So if you have if you want to make bottle caps, it have a section thickness that is almost less than 1 by 8 inches. So we use temperature range like 145, but the molding time, it should be between 10 to 20 seconds. Continuing the processing, we say that the amount of cure, it also like how much one sample should be hardened. So it depends, because not all the urea formaldehyde resins are the same. So depending upon the property, or you can say the desired property, or the desired application, or you can even the economics of the process, we can control the we can change the amount of cure, that amount, how much it should be hardened, or how much we should mold the sample. So the best balance of mechanical and electrical properties, it is done, I mean we control the mechanical properties and electrical properties somehow with respect to the water resistant, depending upon their water resistant of the product, their electrical and mechanical properties, they can be controlled. So what normally is done, that shorter cure times are used, and also for easier flow, what we do, that we preheat the sample before injecting or before introducing into the mold. So urea formaldehyde powders, I mean we already discussed, they can be compression molded, they can be injection molded, or they can be transfer molded. So they said that because of these things we can even transfer mold the samples. Say about these things, that they can be transfer molded, but it is also said that the best possible molding process for these urea formaldehyde is compression molding, because if we talk about the compression molding, so the compression molding is basically the most satisfactory process so far, but it is also known that special injection grades have also developed. When we talk about the injection molding, so the injection molding is not as well settled as this compression molding for urea formaldehyde, but for injection molding is only widely accepted for phenolics. When we talk about phenolics, it means that urea formaldehyde resins, like urea phenol formaldehyde resins, they can be used. So for these urea phenol formaldehyde resin, we shift from the compression molding to injection molding. So why it is so? Because basically urea formaldehydes are very difficult to mold. So we already said that to mold this thing we have to preheat the sample, because if we preheat the sample they can easily flow this way. So if they can flow easily, then we can introduce them into the injection like nozzles, and they can pass through this one, and then we can mold them this way. Because if the like sometimes we already discussed when we talk about the you can say that molding process, then we say that we add some additives like fillers can be added. So basically fillers, what they do, they control the properties of these resins. So in this case, if we carefully control the properties, we can help them to they can help to avoid the brittleness this way. How brittleness is related to stress peak, like when we talk about the transition of a polymer from you say elastic to plastic thing, like they harden somehow. So during this process, if there is stress, just stress is so much, then we get when we draw the, like you can say that the stress diagram, then in that diagram we see that they are going through some hard changes. So in that case, if the filler is not carefully controlled, then the resin can become very hard. So these kind of things, these kind of disadvantages, to overcome these disadvantages, the injection compression process has been developed. So it's a combination of injection and compression molding. So a conventional, what they do in injection compression coupled this hybrid type of system, they have this conventional compression press, like we have the same system, but what we do, that we attach it to a pre-plasticizing unit, where we deliver the sample through the some nozzle type of material, and then it is preheated and softened material, it directed to the compression mold cavity. So this was all about the processing. When we talk about the properties of these urea formaldehyde resins, So one thing is that they have low cost. That is, the cheapest grades are sometimes lower in weight cost than the general purpose phenolics. So these are better than phenol formaldehyde resins, or you can say backlights, because they have lower cost than those. So they have wide color range, and this is a very good advantage because they have got plenty of such applications, like in bottle caps, or you can say that indoor like lampshades and these kind of things. So the wide range helps to helps in the aesthetic properties of some applications of these materials. So they don't impart taste and odor to food steps. So it means that when we talk about plastic, so it is best that they don't interact with the like if we use them as a bottle cap or material that comes in contact with the food. So it is best if they don't give taste or odor to the food stuff that we are going to put in there. So they have also good electrical insulation property with particularly good resistance to cracking. Basically what happens when we talk about cracking is something like if you have a good like insulator material, and then you talk about that it deteriorates, like with time it goes bad, so it leaves some cracking spots that are like that are sometimes something like defects in the insulations. So they have very good resistance to cracking. So these the deteriorations, or you can say the defaults, are very less in case of these materials. So they also have some resistance to continuous heat up to temperature of 70 degrees Celsius. Basically normally at room temperature, like they have found their use as adhesives, or you can say foams, or these kind of things. So normal room temperature is used, so they have very good temperature resistant to up to 70 degrees Celsius. So this is also desirable property. Now we shall talk about the applications of these urea formaldehyde resin. So what they say till one of the early 1919 survey that 43% of these powders they are used in electrical or electronic applications. So basically when we talk about electrical applications, then they were used in making plugs, sockets, or switches. So these we have already said that basically they are very good cracking resistant, like they are very good insulator material. So when we talk about electronic properties, so the best desirable properties of these materials that we have to use for these switches are the plugs. So they should have some very strong insulation, or you can say the good cracking resistance they should have, and low cost is also desirable. So this, because of these low cost properties, they have dominance over phenol formaldehyde resins. And when we talk about the fillers, then we said that we use alpha cellulose or wood floor kind of fillers in these these urea formaldehyde resins. So these kind of fillers, because we know that these cellulose or wood floor, these are also very good insulator materials. So they also increase the you say the these insulator type of properties of these materials. So but when we talk about that these later type now appear to be obsolescent, it means that the later type, that is the wood floor, it has become less in use now. So basically the electronic properties of these materials are very good. So another application of these materials is that they are used for the domestic application, that is almost 27% is a large percentage. So they are used as pot pen handles, they are used in tablewares. I told you before too that they are used to make the bottle caps. And also another application is they are used in the sanitary section, that is they are used to make toilet seats or different bathroom equipment. Basically these are plastic, they are well settled not only in our home but also in the industry, like we have said that they are used in the electronic industry here. So another major market was for bottle caps or closures, or you can say that because we already said they give the least taste or the odor to the food materials. So that's why they are very like promising materials to be used as in close to the food materials or beverages. And also just like when we said that they are used as pen handles, so So similarly, they are also used as a hair drying housing or vacuum flask jugs or cups. So basically these are plastic that are used to make like containers or things that are used in kitchen. They have non-thermoplastic nature, so and they have resistant to detergents. So this is also something very important. If they can't, they can easily resist detergent. So we can also use many buttons from urea formaldehyde powders, because when we do washing, so it's best if the materials that are like plastic that we use there, like to make buttons, they have least interaction with the detergent, because detergents are very strong, and sometimes, most of the time rather, we use bleaching agents too. So if the like dry cleaning solvents or detergents, they have least interaction with the buttons or the other plastic added on the like textiles, so it's best for the use itself. So other use, they have like meat trays, toys, knobs, switches, and lampshades. Basically lampshades, they have very interesting like use for the aesthetic appeal. We say that they are used to, because they have an insulation type of property too. So in order to prevent overheating and also cracking of the shade, lampshade, they can be cracked, so that's why they can withstand high temperature too. So for this reason, lampshades are also made from urea formaldehyde resins. And the same reason, they have light bulbs often used in bathroom and kitchen, so the, you can say, the ceiling lights basically, so they are also made from these plastics. Now we shall talk about their adhesive uses. Basically there are two uses, like adhesives, or you can say that foams. These are listed separately because they have like found these two uses very extensively. So adhesives and their related uses, they are very important or significant uses of urea formaldehydes. And why they are used is like where they can be used as adhesives. They are used in the, like we have wood, or you can say the plywood or furniture industry. So in furniture industry, or you can say that some woods, they are used to adhere together with the help of these resins. So there are many things that we have to consider when we talk about adhesive. Like we are talking about wood as adhesives here, so we have to consider that if the resin is absorbed by the wood itself, then it is not a very good adhesive. So we have to make sure that the wood penetration is not that much. So how we can reduce this wood penetration of the adhesive? We can incorporate some other materials like rye or wood floor. So it also improves the adhesion spreading properties and also reduces cost. How come it reduces cost? Because the wood floor, it is very cheap material. So when it is added to the urea formaldehyde resin, that it decreases the cost itself by making the bulk at low price. So it means that we have to consider each property with and we can modify this property by adding some adhesives in there. So similarly, there is another property, like that we are using these materials in very close to the our food materials too. So we have to consider, because for urea formaldehyde resins, they are formed from urea as well as formaldehyde. So formaldehyde is not that much good for health, and also it has a very unpleasant smell. So concerns over the unpleasant nature of excessive emission of formaldehyde during processes. So this kind of like excessive emission of formaldehyde, to reduce this excessive emission of formaldehyde, there were many, there were bans and very many legislations they were passed in number of countries, because of which their use was very limited and it was reduced. So to overcome the disadvantage, like we have the excessive emission of formaldehyde, the ratio of formaldehyde in urea formaldehyde resin is decreased. That is, we use it to be in 1.1 to 1 ratio. But by reducing formaldehyde ratio, what is done, that mechanical strength, reactivity, and water resistance, it is also reduced. So this thing, it leads to the substitution of urea with melamine. So we are shifting from urea formaldehyde resins to melamine resins to resins basically, because melamine binds with the formaldehydes better way. One thing more that these urea formaldehyde resins, they have when we use them as adhesives, so they have their applications are better in indoor rather than outdoor work. So because when we talk about like phenol formaldehyde or resorcinol formaldehyde or even melamine formaldehyde resins, they can be used outdoor too, but they have a limitation. Like urea formaldehyde have limited use in just in indoor applications. Basically adhesives, we started already with the view to assemble, like to adhere the wood basically. It could be like in the plywood, or you can say that basically in furniture assembling. So wood assemble work is done basically by the urea formaldehyde resins. So to done this thing, we already said that we use some kind of adhesive, some kind of additives to increase the properties, adhering properties of these materials. So sometimes we also use hardening materials, like hardeners are also used. But what we do that before we do the hardening, at the in situ hardening of these materials, like we have these hardening materials there, we coat them on one surface and the resin itself on the other surface. So there is an in situ mixing of these two, and it also reduces the pot life problems. So we are not using another sort of reaction for these. So it's a in situ hardening of these materials, and also the adhering properties are also increased. So there are also some gap filling resin may be produced by incorporating plasticizers. So these are these adhesive properties. What are we doing here? That we are talking about different possibilities by which we can increase the adhesive properties of these materials. Just like when we talked about fillers first, and now we talked about the hardening materials like hardeners here. So next we are talking about that we can also add some plasticizers like furfuryl alcohol, and also fillers can be added. So these type of materials, what they do, that they can just fix the gaps, and also they can fill the gaps basically, and it can reduce shrinkage, and also the cracking, and cracking is basically reduced by adding these plasticizers. And there is another application, and here is the another application that is in the making of chipboards basically. ये वैसे ही है जैसे कुछ भूसा भरी टाइप होती हैं, हमारे पास शीट्स होती हैं, उनके दरमियान में जो है वो मटेरियल जो है वो ऐड होता है. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ चिपबोर्ड शीट्स, दे आर यूज्ड in multiple they have multiple applications in like household like item manufacturing. They can be used in kitchen or different furniture buildings. So basically what we do, that these are mixed with 10% of resin hardener solution, and then they are pressed in, like, because the like we don't like the odor of formaldehyde, so it is important that we don't add this formaldehyde chemical in very large amount. So we have to be careful about the addition of these formaldehyde type of chemicals, like their ratio should be kept low. So these urea formaldehydes, they have found their another major application in the formation of foams. What we do, that we mix this one like this resin with a foamic detergent, and we blend it with an acid such as phosphoric acid, and then we leave the mixture. Then we have a foam type of material as a product. So these foams can be like, this is a basic process how we can make a foam, but these type of foams, they can be like form in situ, where we have to build them. Just like sometimes we have cavity walls, so to fill in those cavity walls too, we can make them in situ. And what they do, that they form between the porous surfaces, and they fill the gaps between these cavities. So basically these foams, they have 80% of like closed cell content of about 80%, and have mechanical strength, little mechanical strength basically. Because when we talk about foams, they are very, like, they have soft touch, So the mechanical strength, when we talk about mechanical strength, it should like bear lot of stress. So in terms of mechanical strength, they are relatively weak. They have low thermal conductivities too. So it is also an established fact that foams, they have insulator type of properties. So when something is insulated, so of course they should have thermal conductivity is very low when we compare, and even these are very low when we compare to other insulating. Another important, you can say that though they have very minor like we say, when sometimes we talk about the floral decorations or artificial snow, but these are not very widely used application, but though these uses are not very significant, but whenever we use them, so these type of materials are there to fill in the desired properties. So these type of like materials are, you can say, applications are used from these materials. These applications are filled by these materials. Why fire lighter application is placed just in connection with the foams? Because basically, what are fire lighters? But first you should know about fire lighter. Just like like when we have these match boxes, so similar to match boxes, because they are used to set fire. So in case of fire lighters, we have these kind of materials. Some materials, they are used to help the ignition process. So we use these kind of materials to help set fire somewhere. So these type of application, they are basically, it's a large scale application of UF resin. It is done by the modification of foam process. What we do in the like how we make foam is that we mix it with a small amount of detergent, but in case of fire lighters, we mix it with the detergent and then we also add with the paraffin. So basically there is a difference between the addition of paraffin here. So hardener is also added here, and when the resin settles, it is basically already saturated with paraffin, and it can be used as a fire lighter material. Another application is that when we talk about the emergency landing of airplanes or aircraft, so the arrestor bed where the these hovercraft, or you can say that aircraft, it has to take off, or you can say that land suddenly. So these kind of arrestor beds are also made from these. These are a few other applications of these materials, and these applications are like they can be used as a like stowing lacquers. लेक्वर वैसे ही है जिसको आप उर्दू में जो है वो रोगन भी कह सकते हैं, यू कैन से सम टाइप ऑफ पॉलिश. So basically why they are used in stuff, because they are basically protective coatings of these urea formaldehyde resins. So these coatings are basically used to protect, or it can be like these protective coatings, they are soluble in organic solvents, but when they used in on stuff, they can be used as like as a protective coating. So these air drying lacquers basically suitable at wood finishes. So they can also be used as like इसे आप कहने के रोगन या सुनहरी पॉलिश कह सकते हैं, गोल्डन जो है वो. these are also used as food finishes, एंड पे आप उसको जो है वो पॉलिश करते हैं. So this is obtained by the addition of acid hardeners. There are also few other things like butylated resins जो हैं वो, अगर आप ब्यूटाइलेशन की करते हैं इन resins की, तो उनके they have variety of other like they have other purposes too, and also the certain modification of these urea resins with other organic bases, they turn them into cationic resins, and these cationic resins are used in the paper making, and also these resins are also extensively used in textile finishing. Textile finishing, when we talk about finishing, it means the last part where we have to give the shine, or you can say the final touch, where at that part we use this material as a coating. This is the reference books I have used for this topic, so it's better you go through this one, and I shall upload this book on the classroom too. I have assignment for you that you have to make a pictorial or graphical summary of urea formaldehyde resin application, be it on one slide or one word file or something like that. You have to look for, just like when we talk about the like wood finishers, or you can say the textile finisher, or when you talk about the lampshades. So you have to find the images and make a good pictorial summary of these applications.